we really wanted to bring you a first-hand account of what it was like to be in the middle of all of this overnight. So News 4's Laura Hettiger started working at 8 o'clock last night. She's the only morning reporter who really spent a lot of her night on the streets in Ferguson among the crowds of people. Laura kicks off our team coverage this morning live in Ferguson. Laura.
And Claire, it was really an eye-opening night for me because when I got to that protest, I was expecting to see so many of the images many of our viewers have grown accustomed to seeing this week. Police in tactical gear, violent riots, and really mass confusion. From what I saw, though, that was not the case.
You see, ain't nobody out here fighting. Everybody's out here for Michael Brown. Everybody's kind of running around doing their own thing, but they're not angry. Last night they were angry and they were ready to they're ready to fight.
From fighting on Wednesday to a sense of freedom on Thursday.
I thought it was going to be violent. I expected police officers. I expected like it was the night before, but it's not like that. It's much more peaceful.
A parade of cars, loud honking, and large crowds at night might not seem all that peaceful to you, but it sure is to all of these folks in Ferguson.
The protesters are the ones that are keeping the peace, that are controlling traffic, and that's how it should be done.
In the entire 3.5 hours I reported through the protest, there was only one moment that I and everyone else I talked to was scared. We just so happened to catch it on camera.
I live in Greenville now, and I work in Kirkwood.
3 distinctive pops sound so familiar to so many in this area. Luckily, turned out to be a false alarm.
That was firecrackers, everybody.
Protesters tell us that they are sorry about the looting and the damage to all the businesses, but they also say the only reason all this is able to happen is because of a change in the way Ferguson is being policed.
People were just saying thanks for allowing us to speak and without fear of tear gas and some of those things, and so I want them to speak and I want to hear what they say, but I also ask them we have to do it in a peaceful way.
That is Captain Ron Johnson, now the man in charge of all of this, and he's going to have a busy day. Why? Because county police just told me there were 5 incidents overnight in which they could not respond. I'll explain more of that coming up at 6:30. Emily and Claire, back to you.
And justice.
And back at home, our Laura Hettiger spending the entire night out in Ferguson talking to people in the crowd. She caught up with a young man who knew Mike Brown very well. She joins us now live. Laura, what did he tell you?
Well, Emily, I made it a point last night walking through that protest to talk to as many people as I could. So I saw a group very close to West Florissant and Canfield Drive, started talking to them. Come to find out, this was one of Mike Brown's very good friends. In fact, one of the people he graduated with from Normandy High School, he tells me he saw Mike Brown just 1 week ago today, last Friday. That is the day before Mike died. He tells me that Mike was really into music. He wanted to be a rapper. And he also tells me that the very last words he ever said to his friend was, quote, "Be safe." And he is still surprised that all of this has happened. Did you ever think that your graduating class, someone from your graduating class, would have an impact around the world that he has?
No, that's why it's so crazy, and it's like happened right outside my house. That's why it's so crazy, because it's somebody I know. Like, this just happened with Trayvon Morton, Emmett Till, Oscar Grant, and now it happened with him. Somebody that I know, so it's crazy.
Courtney Hudson is a lifelong resident of Ferguson, and he tells me the only way he thinks peace can come to his town is if the town wins, meaning the officer who shot and killed Mike Brown is arrested and charged with murder. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, and we wanted to show you a first-hand perspective of that shift, so we changed things up a little bit. Had our Laura Hettiger go to Ferguson all night long, and Laura, in the process, you had a chance to talk with that captain, Captain Johnson, one-on-one.
I did, Emily, but first off, there's a roll call going on behind me. This is my 5th morning in a row here, and this is the first time it's looked like that. Police in both blue and brown uniforms. That shows that county police are now working with Missouri Highway Patrol, and they are all under Captain Ron Johnson. I was here last night right around 11. I saw the captain, went up to him, introduced myself, asked him for an interview. He tells me he found out yesterday afternoon that he would soon be calling the shots here. For him, though, it's not just business, it's personal. Captain Johnson is a longtime North County resident, very familiar with this area and the people, and he tells me he's really fine with people peacefully protesting in the streets. I asked if those protesters will ever be met with tear gas under his watch.
That is so far out of my mind, I can't even answer that question. But I will say we do have to protect the citizens that are in homes outside of this community, the citizens that are in homes within this community, the businesses that are here. But I think that we have other means and measures that we're going to utilize.
Now, I have just been told within the last hour it really wasn't that quiet here in Ferguson overnight. But Claire and Emily, you know I cover crime all over the area, not just in North County. This is the first time I've ever had an officer walk up and give me an update. He says there was some type of situation last night with 4 men in a truck. They eventually got pulled over in Pine Lawn. When they did that, they ended up arresting several people who had weapons in the vehicle. It now sounds like all those weapons were confiscated, but I have more updates on other issues that happened here in Ferguson last night. I'll have an update for all of you on that coming up in about 15 minutes. We'll send it back to you guys.
Laura Hettiger was there overnight, and she is live this morning at the command post in Ferguson. And Laura, you worked since 8 o'clock last night to bring us a first-hand account.
I did, and now, Claire, I have worked through the morning to get more information from police. First, though, let's take you back to that protest. KMOV photographer Brian Podner and I walked up to West Florissant around 9 o'clock last night, and this is what we saw. A celebration parade is how one Ferguson resident describes it. Car after car, person after person, sign after sign, and chant after chant. Everyone there celebrating Mike Brown's life and a change in the way things have been handled the last few days. What you will not see on this mile-long parade route, though, are officers. Not because there was a lack of violence. Police tell me they had 3 calls for a shooting, armed robbery, and an assault at West Florissant and Canfield Drive that they could not respond to. Police tell me, quote, state troopers are selective on what we can respond to. So the woman who was shot was not taken to the ambulance or taken to the hospital by an ambulance, but by a friend. We have a lot of new information we'll be gathering all day for you here on News 4. We'll send it back to you guys.
For now, we're going to send it to Laura Hettiger. She has more information on some documents that were released involving this case. Press conference I just told you about. Laura?
And Mike, I am joining you from the Ferguson Police Department, a very different situation than what's happening where you are. The only people around me are different news stations giving updates, but Chief Jackson did tell me within the hour that they should have more information for us in the next 2 hours. For now, though, let's lay out the strong arm robbery that police say Mike Brown committed just minutes before he was killed. Here are a series of surveillance pictures from inside the food mart on West Florissant last Saturday. Now, according to the incident report, around 11:50 a.m., Mike Brown and Dorian Johnson, they are naming both of them, went into that food mart. Brown took some cigars, passed them to Johnson, and told him to leave. The clerk told Brown he needed to pay for them. Then Brown reached across the counter, grabbed some more, and left the store. The clerk called 911 and tried to stop Brown from leaving. And you see in these pictures the size difference between these two. Keep in mind, Mike Brown is 6 feet 4 inches tall, and according to the incident report, Brown grabbed the clerk's shirt and forced him into a display rack and then left. Now, once the 911 call went to dispatch, several officers responded to that area to look for the suspects. And we do now know at least one of those officers was the one Mike Colombo was just talking about, Darren Wilson. We are still waiting to get his report on the shooting. We have not been given that yet. But according to a supplemental report, one officer viewed the surveillance video at the gas station and then also went to that shooting scene of Mike Brown and was able to confirm from the video to what he saw at that scene that it was the same person. Now, from the time Brown committed that strong arm robbery to when he was dead is less than 15 minutes. Reporting live from Ferguson Police Department, Laura Hettiger, News 4.
Jackson. In the meantime, what you just saw on our screen was part of our team coverage. We have a number of crews in Ferguson right now. We heard from Mike Colombo. Now we're going to check in with News 4's Laura Hettiger. And Laura, we saw the individuals this morning who were at the press conference get a packet of information. You've had some time to pour through all of the papers in there as well as some pictures that you're showing us. What are we seeing there?
Claire, I've not had much time to pour through this, just getting it, but yes, we have these pictures, and if we can, we are going to go ahead and zoom in. Understand these are surveillance pictures from a camera in the gas station where this strong armed robbery occurred. As we zoom in, I'm just going to walk you through it. You have, it looks like, a larger man coming in a white t-shirt, a red Cardinals hat. It looks like this might be the store clerk. Going to this next picture, you see him coming at the man. In the next picture below here, coming closer, and then you see the man looks like he's making some type of motion with his hands, the taller one turning to the side, and then these are the other pictures we have. These seem to be really telling the story. A very close confrontation. You can tell that his left arm is down. You can't tell what his right arm is doing, but you see that the clerk is grabbing at his collar. And then you see in this next picture that his left hand is definitely grabbing at the collar. Go down here, there is a shove. It is very hard to see in these pictures if there is a weapon. You can clearly see that something is in his right hand. You cannot tell if this in his left hand is a gun. It does look like something is pointed there. And then the final picture, it shows the larger man again approaching what seems to be the clerk. Now, Claire, this is really my first time looking at this. This is a large packet. Let me explain this packet. Not everyone gets it. KMOV did a special sunshine request to get all of the information about what happened in Ferguson last Saturday. Let me walk you through the timeline once again the police laid out. It looks like it was around 11:48 last Saturday that police in the area got a sick call. Then just a few minutes later, there was a call for an armed robbery. That is when we believe Darren Wilson, the officer who has been named on this, a veteran of the force for 6 years, started making his way to the gas station. I'm pouring through this right now, trying to figure out the exact address of that gas station, and that is when it appears Darren Wilson encountered Michael Brown. Now, according to the chief, he would not say that Michael Brown was the suspect in this. Again, Michael has been described as a larger man, a gentle giant. You can clearly see from these pictures that he is quite taller than this man. We don't have any statistics on that, but you can tell very much stronger. Looks like he is powering down on him.
Laura, as you look at those